We are at the halfway point of the Formula One season. We're 11 races in. There are 11 more races to go. And I want to share the current standings and check in on my thoughts on how every team is doing so far in Formula One. So here are the constructors' standings, 11 races in. In first, you got Red Bull with 359 points. In second is Ferrari with 303 points. In third, Mercedes with 237 points. Then, tied for fourth is, with 81 points, McLaren and Alpine. In sixth, you've got Alfa Romeo with 51 points. Seventh is Haas with 34 points. Eighth is AlphaTauri with 27 points. Ninth is Aston Martin with 18 points. And dead last in 10th is Williams with, they got a whopping 3 points in Formula One, which I'm not going to lie, is actually pretty good for them. Also, technically, McLaren is fourth and Alpine is fifth because they were ahead going into the weekend. So if the year ended today, McLaren would be fourth and Alpine would be fifth, but we'll see as the year goes on. I think Alpine's got a great shot to beat McLaren for fourth in Formula One. I want to start off we'll check in with every team, but I want to start off by talking about Ferrari. Ferrari's in second place right now, 56 points behind Red Bull, and it's very, very disappointing because Ferrari should probably be leading Formula One right now. They've had engine failure 4 times this year. It's usually happened, by the way, when they have cars at the front in a podium position. For example, in Spain, Charles Leclerc had a huge lead when, way ahead, I think lap 27, when suddenly his car lost power. He should have won and instead had to retire. That should have been an easy victory for Charles Leclerc that got turned into a DNF, which is very sad. Missed out on a bunch of points there. At Baku, again, Charles Leclerc had the lead and had to retire. In fact, Ferrari had a double DNF as both drivers had engine failure. In Austria, Ferrari should have had an easy 1-2 finish, but Carlos Sainz's engine literally blew up. So Ferrari over and over again keeps shooting themselves in the foot. And for Ferrari, it's been a year of missed opportunities and failure. And if Ferrari doesn't win the world title this year, it's going to be a really big what if in the history of Formula One, where you're gonna go can you imagine them having the fastest car and all the potential and all the positioning and they just can't get it together? I mean, they're failing to live up to their potential. They're 56 points behind Red Bull, and Charles Leclerc is 38 points behind Max Verstappen. It should be neck and neck, but Ferrari keeps shooting themselves in the foot, and it's frustrating. Now, Red Bull right now leads Formula One with 359 points, and Max is first in the driver's standing. Sergio Perez is third. Red Bull keeps benefiting from Ferrari's failures. I think Red Bull has been feeling good, although I think slightly threatened. At their home track in Austria, Ferrari straight up was faster. Charles Leclerc passed Max easily. Carlos Sainz should have passed Max easily. It is funny, though, how going into the year, everyone was calling Red Bull unreliable, and that's actually been more true of Ferrari so far. If I'm Red Bull, I'd be worried that Ferrari cleans things up and eventually is going to dominate us, because while Red Bull leads Ferrari 359 to 303 with 11 races in, it's a 56-point lead. I'd be worried that the gap isn't enough, because if Ferrari gets it together, they are going to win more races and could eventually dominate Red Bull. Now, one thing I will say, I say it time and time again, Sergio Perez, week in and week out, proves to be, that move, adding Sergio Perez to Red Bull's stable of drivers, is just, keeps proving itself to be an absolute triumph and just a beautiful decision. He's a perfect driver to pair alongside Max Verstappen. He's talented, he can win. He's been on the podium. Sergio Perez, Checo's been on the podium 6 of 11 times this year. He won at Monaco. And he's got the humility to listen to team orders and put the team ahead of himself. Sergio Perez has become my favorite driver in Formula One. I absolutely love the guy. I love his story. I love that he was almost out of F1. He was driving, we used to call him Pepto Perez, driving the pink Team Force India car, and then whatever they were for a little bit, Racing Point or whatever. He was almost out of F1, and for him to, he did well at the end of that stint with Racing Point. He kept his job, and now he's doing very well in the fast Red Bull car. I just absolutely love Checo. He's my favorite driver, and I love seeing the guy do well. How about Mercedes? I think given how bad this year has been for them, it's impressive where Mercedes is right now, 11 races into the Formula One season. Lewis Hamilton had a slow start to the year. He got 10th in Saudi Arabia, 13th in Italy, 6th in Miami, 8th in Monaco. Like in recent years that I've watched Formula One, even Lewis Hamilton getting a 6th position is like almost unthinkable. You're like, Lewis got 6th? What happened? Did he blow a tire? Like, what happened here? How is this possible? So for him to get 6th in a Lewis Hamilton-driven Mercedes car, let alone 13th, is out of character. And things are changing here. And Mercedes has had not as fast a car. They're struggling with porpoising. And also a weird thing about this year is that regularly Lewis has been outperformed, or at least outpositioned regularly, where George Russell keeps finishing ahead of Lewis Hamilton. It's been very jarring and surprising. In fact, people were asking, is George Russell a better driver than Lewis Hamilton? Like, what's going on here? And now, in the last 3 races, things have turned around. Lewis Hamilton has been 3rd 3 times in a row in Canada, Silverstone, and Austria. So things are getting better for Lewis Hamilton. And Mercedes, by the way, is in 3rd right now with 237 points. McLaren is behind them. McLaren and Alpine are tied with 81 points. They're no threat to catch up to Mercedes from behind. But Ferrari, they're in 2nd with 303 points. And with 11 races to go, Mercedes seems to be getting stronger. Ferrari, they keep struggling with engine failure. If Ferrari keeps faltering and Mercedes keeps getting better, there's a very, very small chance that Mercedes actually could catch Ferrari and beat them and get 2nd in Formula One, which would be crazy and surprising. Now, one thing that's been undeniable this year about Mercedes is that bringing on George Russell has been a really, really great move. He's done so well driving for Mercedes. He's been very, very consistent. He's 5th in the driver's standings with 128 points. He's 19 points ahead of Lewis, which is a big surprise going into the year. I would have not thought that. George has finished top 5 in 10 out of the 11 races this year. And the only time that George Russell hasn't finished in the top 5, this year, the one time he didn't do that was when he crashed in the Joe Guan Yu incident at Silverstone. So he didn't even finish that race, didn't have a real chance to get a top 5 finish. George has been an absolute stud on the podium 3 times, on the podium 3 times, top 5 in every race he's finished. George Russell has been absolutely unbelievable. Now, a fun question to ask is this: will Mercedes win any races this year? It's been Red Bull or Ferrari every single time this year. The best Mercedes seems to be able to do is get 3rd. And this is the longest Lewis Hamilton has ever gone without winning a race. It's now 12 races in a row that Lewis Hamilton hasn't won. That goes all the way back to Abu Dhabi last year in 2021. By the way, that's still an impressive stat. A lot of people would say, hey, if I won a race every 12 races, that's incredible. Like, most people will take that. But Lewis, after dominating Formula One for years, I wonder, is Lewis going to go all of 2022 without a victory? That's possible, and that would be a shock, given what I thought going into the year, that at least I knew Mercedes wasn't as fast. They're going to have a bad year, but I didn't think it'd be this bad. So will Mercedes win it all this year? That's an interesting question to ponder, because every victory so far has been Red Bull or Ferrari. And it doesn't look like, without help, Mercedes is going to be able to win any race. They might be there if things go wrong in both teams, but that's 4 drivers that got to have problems go wrong for them. And I don't think with pace alone, Mercedes can reasonably challenge Ferrari or Red Bull. And that's a thing that we haven't seen really in years. Now, McLaren right now is tied with Alpine for 4th with 81 points. McLaren is fine. I guess I didn't expect that McLaren would push the big 3, Red Bull, Ferrari, or Mercedes. But McLaren, I hope they take a step forward next year in Formula One, because Daniel Ricciardo, while I love his personality, Danny Rick is awesome. He's been a huge disappointment for McLaren. His best finish this year is 6th. This is his second year with the team, and Danny Rick has been super underwhelming. He's currently 12th in the driver's standings with only 17 points, and I think Daniel Ricciardo's at risk of losing his spot. You're seeing a lot of PR and moves and stuff being put out by him and his team, but I think McLaren is really thinking hard about, do we get rid of this guy? It's expensive, but Danny Rick is not performing where we need him to. Now, Lando Norris is a stud and a talented driver. I think he's got potential to be one of the... Lando Norris is talented enough that with the right car, he could be world champion, in my opinion. But right now, if McLaren wants to challenge a big three in Formula One, they're probably going to need another and a better number 2 driver instead of Danny Rick, and they're going to need an even faster car. And a lot of work to be done for McLaren if they want to get to the top of Formula One, but maybe they're happy where they are. I don't really know. Now, how about Alpine? Alpine is tied with McLaren with 81 points, and if they can finish 4th ahead of McLaren, that would be a huge victory for them. Also, their pairing of Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon is going really well. They're both competitive. They're both scoring points. I'm enjoying it. I really, Fernando Alonso is going to be 41 at the end of July. I don't know how much longer he plans to keep racing, but he's not really slowing down, and he is still competitive, and I'm here for it, man. I love watching Fernando Alonso race, and he's a tough, old school guy that's hard to pass. He'll yell at you, but again, I think it's fun to watch, and Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon, they're a great pairing right now. A French driver driving for a French team with Ocon. Fernando Alonso seems to be the driving force. They're kind of like Tom Cruise was with Top Gun Maverick. Like, nothing goes on without his approval, and I love it. Okay, Alfa Romeo, they're 6th right now in Formula One with 51 points. I find Alfa Romeo just kind of boring. They're in the middle. They got a rookie, Zhou Guanyu, who is finding his way in Formula One. Valtteri Bottas has actually impressed me. He took a big step down going from a Mercedes car to an Alfa Romeo car. And yet he's still competitive. He actually, he's had a couple good finishes. 5th in Italy, 7th in Miami, 6th in Spain. Alfa Romeo, they're a bit boring, but they are a decent team. Now, Haas is 7th right now in Formula One with 34 points. And man, Haas has been entertaining to watch. They've been bad for so long, and to see them get points and do well is pretty cool. And, Kevin Magnussen has been competitive. Mick Schumacher. By the way, Kevin Magnussen wasn't even supposed to drive this year. Then, Russia invades Ukraine, and Nikita Mazepin really loses his spot, and they bring in, at the last minute, Kevin Magnussen, and he's done way better than Mazepin could have done, and very surprising. Well, it's really cool to see him do as well as he has. And Mick Schumacher's in year 2 of his F1 career, and he's finally starting to show that he's got some talent that isn't just the son of a really famous dad. Remember, his dad is former 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher. Some say his dad is the GOAT. A lot of pressure to live up to that. And at Silverstone, Mick got his first ever F1 points. Then in Austria, he got 6th, his best ever F1 finish. To do that in a Haas car is impressive, and he's just getting better and better and better, and I hope someday he's on a top team with a great car. Actually, Haas got double points 2 races in a row, which is pretty exciting. And, my expectation for Haas has been so low for so long that I just like seeing them do well and get points. Like, good for Gunther and Gunther Steiner, and it's awesome. AlphaTauri, they're a big fat nah. AlphaTauri, they're in 8th right now with 27 points. Yuki Tsunoda is young. He makes a lot of mistakes, one of their drivers. I'm curious if Pierre Gasly might ever move up to another team. I believe he's more talented than his car might show, and if Fernando Alonso ever retired from Alpine, maybe, a French guy like Pierre Gasly could go in and be with his home team, or maybe he could replace Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren. I don't know, but my buddy Caleb's a huge AlphaTauri fan, and I don't find AlphaTauri very interesting, even if I've got a heart for and I like Pierre Gasly. And then Aston Martin, man. Aston Martin has been a huge disappointment. I thought that they might be more competitive. I thought they might be a more competitive midfield team, and they're 9th right now in Formula One with only 18 points. And, the former team principal for Aston Martin, Otmar Safnauer. He left to join Alpine, and Otmar won the breakup, man. He's doing great with Alpine. Aston Martin has been pretty bad this year. Their car is terrible. I feel like Sebastian Vettel's career is being wasted. You got Lance and Lawrence Stroll, the billionaire, and his son, and that seems like a mess there I wouldn't want to deal with. And I just wonder if Sebastian Vettel had a good car, would he be a good driver? Would he be scoring a lot of points? Because the only time Sebastian Vettel makes news now is if he gives an interesting quote rather than stuff he's doing on the track. And that makes me sad because I think Seb is capable of more and we're just not seeing it. We'll never really know because we're not going to see him maybe ever again in a good car. And that's very, very sad. Now, Williams right now is 10th in Formula One. They've got 3 points. Their drivers are Alex Albon and Nicholas Latifi. They're so uninteresting to me. The fact they have 3 points at all is very impressive, though. They did find something noteworthy to do, which is pretty cool. Alex Albon got 10th in Australia and 9th in Miami. That's 3 points right there. But other than that, I got nothing else to say about Williams. Good they got 3 points, more than I expected from them, and they found a way to get mentioned on the podcast. But I don't care about Williams. They're terrible. So let me know, what team is you excited or disappointed so far during the 2022 F1 season? Who do you think is going to win the world title? I honestly, I have no idea. Probably, I would assume Max or Charles Leclerc, Ferrari or Red Bull. But do you have a strong opinion either way? I actually don't at this point. We're 11 races in. It's been very, very interesting. I think the battle I'm most fascinated on, maybe there's two. Can Mercedes catch Ferrari? Ferrari keeps screwing up and Mercedes keeps getting better. And then is Alpine going to beat McLaren? Like that would be, I would love to see that. I want something to really motivate and drive McLaren for next year to keep them to see Alpine challenging McLaren, because McLaren's been kind of stagnant as the fourth best team in Formula One for quite a while. I want McLaren to get even better and challenge the big three, and Alpine might be the catalyst to do that, to make them go, we got to make changes. We can't be fifth in Formula One. So, it might make a complacent or stagnant McLaren have to make changes going into next year, and I really, really like that thought. So let me know, what do you think of Formula One so far? Those are my thoughts, 11 races in.